strength of Vladimir. He slipped under the radar until they brought him out in LCS, and then everyone was like, whoa!
What a great pick. Victor, though, is unanimously a good pick, as everyone has seen.
Not into Vlad, though. Because the reason why Vlad does well into Victor is Victor's trading in lane is not actually that great. What used to make it good was when you upgraded the Hex core and then you had the upgrade to your death ray.
Aftershock,
that meant that you had a lot of trading potential, but now you don't have that. Well, you do, but it's more for wave clear. It's much easier to avoid, which means that every time you and Vladimir start to try and battle it out, what actually happens is the Vladimir gets his Crimson Rush, and he pretty much gets all of the damage back that he's just sustained from you. And he can keep pushing you in with his E, with his Tides of Blood, and so Vladimir ends up, during the early game, yes, struggling a little bit, but after his first back, he comes back to lane, and Victor can't do a thing.
We also saw the Echo being picked up here. Priority has been kind of the same, obviously dropped off from when Echo was just like the pick. And as you mentioned before when we were talking, like Fizz has kind of risen in popularity, but we're going to see it again this game. To see the Draven pick up actually by Gap along with Alistar, so interesting to see Draven, because Hans Sama was also a Draven picker last split.
He was, yeah.
And he got the big cash in. Gap got a less impressive cash in, but yeah, gonna take it to Hans Sama. Very interesting to see what he'll do with that pick.
Hiva getting his Alistar, though, I feel is the big thing here, because we praised Hiva for his ability to start these fights for Forge, change their playstyle from being a very slow passive team into still being a fairly slow team in the sense that it takes them a while to close out the game, but they definitely were not passive anymore. They were very much about looking for fights, looking for these dives in the turrets, trying to be proactive and trying to force objectives. So the fact that he was on that champion is going to be very comfortable for him, and we're going to see a lot of plays coming out from Team Forge.
Yeah, he even drew bans with as the pick in CSQ, so excited to see that one. Tarek coming out here for Ignar, so Unlimited bring out a lot in CSQ, so Ignar taking that one. But with the Caitlyn, that is like a super old school lane. If you remember, like Season 2, Caitlyn Tarek used to be a thing, and it's coming back in Season 6.
The great synergy about this is if you are able to land the stun, you can get the immediate follow-up with the trap. So anything that synergizes with Caitlyn, you kind of want to be able to put the trap underneath it as well. The problem I can see for Misfits right now is something that we were discussing earlier with Caitlyn. Ideally, you want to set up a 1-3-1 because you want to move that Caitlyn into the mid lane. She's really not that good into a side lane, especially against the composition that Forge have set themselves up. So when you pair that up with a Victor, now you've got both your mid laner and your AD carry fighting for farm in the mid, which is not an ideal situation to be in. But Team Forge going for a very standard heavy teamfight composition, really. You do have the split push presence from the Trundle as well, but Gragas, great at setting up for pigs, starting to force these fights. Alistar works very nicely, and then you've also got the Vlad and the Draven who just dish out tons of damage in these mid-game fights. I mean, it's a Team Forge comp down to the T, right? Like, go for the team fights, and if you want to throw a Draven in there, it's probably fine. We'll just see how it goes. I'm excited. Every single time I see a Draven, I just want to, like, one, see out what the cash-in is. Also, like, everything lives on and dies on like the first cash-in. It's about like, did you die before getting that first kill? Because then you are like pretty much crippled. And like the longer it goes without getting something done. If he's still holding up in farm with the enemy AD carry, then they will scale at the same time.
Draven always needs more gold to be as efficient or more efficient than to snowball, right? Like, if you're just gonna go Draven to go even in lane, you might as well just pick a different AD carry. It's all about making that big dank play and then getting all of the gold and being a full item ahead of your opponent. Because then, otherwise, he can't trunk through those big tanks. Like we've seen multiple games where Draven's been drafted into like a Maokai, and it's like, well, if you don't get ahead, then Maokai's just gonna laugh at you and sit in your face with Twisted Advance all day. So, you know, there's always that. But anyway, jump on Twitter, use the hashtags, hashtag MSFwin and hashtag 4GWin for who you think is going to take this game. We'll be tallying those up and taking a look as we get into this game between Misfits and Team Forge. Thank you for sticking with us if you have stuck with us through all this time and enjoyed our talk about Talia and everything. A lot of stupid stuff, and if you enjoyed it, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you.
Right. The players that I want to keep my eyes on this game are Ignar and Hiva, because Ignar is a big question mark for me. How well is he going to do in a European team, brand new challenger team. He does have Wisdom, fellow Korean, so that might bring him a little bit more comfort, but he's also playing with a very young AD carry that in the past has a very positive reputation for being that carry, and how well can Ignar support that. Going up against Tifa as well, who also has a fantastic record as a support, being that very aggressive engage style player. I'm looking forward to seeing how well these two will interact with one another.
And that's one of the questions for this game, right? Like, you have this Korean with this new young player, and how are they going to interact in the laning phase? Because we've seen teams before like have communication issues, but when it's like in a specific lane, it can be real hard. Like Giants is a good example of that, because it's like, how are they going to communicate with like mid lane and ADC not being able to properly communicate with the rest of the team? So we'll just have to see how they interact. Because Hansama, we've seen, is an extremely strong ADC by himself, and Ignar already stopping the Gromp tick there, so Hansama slightly ahead.
Big thing is Gap missed his axe. That's a valuable stack that you lose.
Yeah. What's he gonna do?
For the longest time when I played Draven, I thought that it was just throwing the axes that actually got you the stacks, but in reality it's catching them. So if you want to stop someone from getting those stacks, just be as obnoxious as possible whenever they're trying to catch the axe.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of ways that give you more stacks. It's catching one, killing a unit, CSing a full wave. If you CS 6 minions in a row without dropping an axe, gives you 2 stacks. So lots of ways of getting the League of Draven running.
Expert right here.
Yeah, I was a one trick for a while. I was like,
you were literally a one trick at every champion in this game.
That was like weird. Yeah, it was like Riven, Draven. Yeah, but just knowing those weird facts is always a good thing.
That's what brings your quirkiness to
exactly.
the
there you go. We did it.
All right, so
but that is a fabulous lane in the bot lane, by the way. The
standard matchup.
And fabulous Tarek, who is now going to ward here.
Standard lanes we have coming out from Misfits and 4G. Misfits bottom lane is very difficult difficult for 4G, as it is a Caitlyn who naturally has the range advantage. Ooh, hang on, gank up in the top lane.
Yeah, Alfari's already used phase dives. I'm going to have to burn a flash. Another double flash coming out from Mimic and Taiki, who's just going to headbutt him to death. Nice first blood out there for 4G.
Definitely wanted the kill down onto Alfari. Wanted to try and shut down this top laner as soon as possible. Taiki setting up his pathing so that he could go for an early gank. Just taking only the top half of his jungle will mean that Wisdom will be able to steal away the blue buff. But it's not going to hurt Taiki that much. He's just going to continue to stick around the top half of the map, get what jungle farm that he can. He may even look to set up another gank onto Alfari, given that he now no longer has his teleport or his flash available.
In the bot lane, you can see classic Heaver play, where he is laughing at his opponent and running Thunderlords. So this is a trademark of Heaver's Alistar. Taiki going to be recalling any enemy jungle here. Bot lane actually roaming up for Misfits. Ignar's going into the mid lane to see if he can get something done. Get some deep wards perhaps, maybe in this bush. Always a good place to ward. Catches a lot of different routes that the jungler generally takes when automatically pathing through the jungle. So a lot of value from that. And since Hansam is just by himself in bot lane against the Draven Alistar, Ignar has the time.
Certainly does. Mid lane matchup right now. Vladimir, one of the few mid laners that can actually get a lot of benefit from the Doran shield, because he obviously gets ability power from that health. I actually believe that he is the only mid laner that gets any value from the Doran shield, so always has that advantage. As Ignar lands the stun.
Nice dazzle onto 2. He will jump in with his combo, but the shield and the healing and everything that Tarek provides will mitigate a lot of that damage. So again, Misfits bottom lane coming ahead, generally to be expected with a Tarek Caitlyn lane into anything. But Draven, Alistar, at some point, once they're able to get some levels under their belt, will have superior trading potential. It's all about that cash in, boys.
It certainly is. Unfortunately, you and I can't keep an eye on how many stacks he has, so we will have to rely on our observers to keep us informed. As Alfari right now being very aware of the pressure that 4G are looking to put down up in the top lane. Taiki really wants to prevent Alfari from being in any kind of carry situation, and when you have a Trundle versus Echo matchup, it's always great to have that Trundle in a better position come the late game split push, so that if 4G decide to go for that sort of play, then they know that their Trundle will be able to outduel the Echo.
Well, Taiki is walking into this mid lane. He's going to try and get something done onto Selfie, but being only a sad little level 4 Gragas who is now level 5 after dinging off the mid wave just to prove me wrong, but he's not got ultimate still, so that was good English. And he can't get a gank onto Selfie, so he's going to just kind of wander in, tax Vlad and walk away. Bot lane lands a dazzle onto Heaver. Gap, he's still good. He's still farming. He hasn't dropped an axe in a while, so he's a happy little Draven.
I think Draven's always happy, because he's in the presence of Draven.
That's true.
Isn't that the rules?
Even when he dies, he does the little Cowboy Bebop death animation thing, so that's true. I think he's always generally happy. There was a point in his lore, though, where he was unhappy that he wasn't getting enough renown for his executioner abilities, so he didn't want to be a war chief like Darius, a war leader, so instead he just executed people for sport.
Ah.
So
it's always a positive career path to choose.
I think so too.
Feeling low.
That's what I would have done if I didn't do shoutcasting, you know?
Kill for glory.
Yeah.
Rejoin my former gladiator brothers. So, this mid lane. You can see now that Jizuki, after having done his first back, well, actually, he's taking a lot of damage from Selfie.
Just gonna disco ball you real quick, Jizuki.
Yeah,
Have fun with that.
I was trying to talk about the mid lane matchup Selfie and how it typically goes in the favor of Vlad, and there you go. Being like, yeah, no, damage. But Jizuki has picked up that very early Spectre's, the cloak, which means
the Spectre's cowl.
The Spectre's cowl, that's the one. That's the Badger. Gives him some nice early magic resistance.
Ooh, Jizuki playing with
Selfie,
lasers.
though, have a look at how much mana he's on right now. Jizuki, this is where you see the power of the Crimson Rush, and he's just going to be like, yeah, and a lot of my health back. But Ignar.
Oh, Ignar from nowhere. Just when you think you're safe, the unseen Taric is there to kill you. And now he's going to fabulous his way back onto the bottom lane. I know, I didn't really have a good verb there. So, typically, Victor falls behind in this 1 versus 1 matchup because it's actually very difficult for him to trade back and forth, but at the cost of basically using all of his mana and not really invest his resources into shoving the wave and farming, he's basically saying, I'm going to trade with you. I'm going to use all of my mana to push you back during this early game because you do have to use health during the early game, which is always detrimental when you're trying to lane and pick up farm. And that's exactly what Selfie is trying to punish. So that has allowed him to accrue a bit of a CS advantage because he has forced Jizuki back twice now. But as the lane progresses, as Jizuki starts to pick up a bit of extra magic resistance with this Spirit's Visage, and an extra bit of health, then you will see things start to switch back into Jizuki's favor. They will. Huh? Gap, he went back to base. Actually, no, I don't think he went back to base. He's still got the Durin's Blade and a cookie, and has not eaten through that cookie yet, so he's been pretty good just farming away. 71 farm in this lane. He's in a pretty good place. Hansam is also pushing up the wave, so I'm sure that will equalize.
That's not a bad place to be in when going up against a Caitlyn, who is very well known for ability to push people around in lane. Jizuki just being like, yeah, I can be annoying too. So Ignar looking constantly to try and set up some roams. Hans had to go back, so Ignar just wanted to put a bit of pressure down onto the mid lane. But he will spot out Heaver.
Heaver, gonna bit of territory control. He's gonna assert his dominance over Taric, who is gonna have to take the long route around to his natural habitat of a bot lane.
So unfortunate for Ignar putting that pink ward down to then find Heaver there, and now because Ignar doesn't have his AD carry nearby, cannot contest. Very unfortunate for him, as we now see Mimic investing a lot into killing Alfari.
And Alfari's going to pop away using the Chrono Break. That was an ultimate in exchange from Mimic. He was getting the upper hand there, as anyone who goes toe-to-toe with Trundle will generally lose. Once he's in range of batting you in the face, Wisdom's going to be following after. No longer nerf battered from the previous patch. And he's still trying to chase down Mimic. He does have that ultimate and is able to get him with the last auto attack. Plus the ultimate. He was completely safe. And he's even going to step out of the healing. Didn't even need that.
That was so good. Sorry, the reason I got so excited there was because I actually thought he was level 5. He got the kill, got level 6, and then he spec'd his ultimate and used it at the same time.
Well, maybe less okay for Ignar in the bot lane. Nice double stun coming up, and Hansam is going to return a bit of damage himself, but that's just in time for Gap and Heaver to assist with the first dragon of the game, which will be the Ocean Dragon, going over to Jizuki and Taiki.
And this is going to extend 4G's record now to 9 out of the 10 first Dragons of the games that they've played so far, which is very impressive. Flash engage.
Flash combo, Cosmic Radiance comes down. Handsammer might already be dead before it comes up. Oh, great ultimate coming in from Taiki. Follow up as well from Gap. He really wants his catch and he's solo. There it is. And now Alphari will try and turn the tables. Comes in with a parallel convergence onto 2. Gap is solo. Ignore coming in. Bravado will help him take down his target, but that is at the cost of Alphari without Chrono Break. Meanwhile, Wisdom joins the fray and will be looking to try and close in on Taiki and Mimic. Both of them should be perishing right here in this fight. That'll be a 2-for-4 favor to Misfits.
Wow, so a very drawn-out fight, and great job from the bottom lane of Misfits to force 4G to invest so many resources into just getting that one kill down onto Handsammer. Ignar holding that ultimate till just the right time, using his exhaust onto Gap to prevent Gap from being able to quickly pick up that kill, and it just resulted in Misfits being able to rotate their entire 5-man team down into the bottom half of the map. Really nice response coming out from Misfits. They're now going to sit on the kill advantage, a healthy gold advantage, and now Jizuke might be the target.
It's kind of an obvious target marker there, as he just marks Jizuke as he's on his way mid. Jizuke, rather, but let's take a look at that one again. Great engage by Heaver to start this off. Yeah,
so Heaver gets the collapse down onto Hans. He has the ward there, but have a look at this from Hans. He buys so much time with that ultimate. It lasts for such a long time. Then the exhaust from Gap forces the flash out of him, which means that Alphari can come in for the cleanup. Ignar is the one that has to flash in and actually get the kill, because all of the focus is going down onto Alphari, who actually loses his life. But now with a full health Wisdom and an absolutely zero ability 4G, they're just basically waiting for their own demise. So nice response from Misfits, but it really was Ignar that bought enough time for the rest of Misfits to come in for the cleanup.
Also, 760 gold was the total for Gap. So kind of got to argue with, like, was it worth it for 4G to funnel all of the gold they did get basically into Gap there? 1-1-1 now. Is on his way to his next item. Doesn't seem to be a big discrepancy between him and Handsammer in terms of golden items, as Handsammer is still 10 CS ahead of him. So we'll see as this game progresses. Heaver has found Ignar in the jungle and will want to walk away, but ultimately he's going to ignore him. In the top lane, Alphari will dodge out the way of the cast, and Taiki will keep up the aggression. He does still have Chrono Break, and is going to use that now to get a bit of health back as Wisdom comes into the fight. Mimic's going to have to juke into the brush here, but it looks like Taiki doesn't want any of this. Take him, not me. Mimic, he's so close to death, but Wisdom doesn't have the mana. Alphari as well just didn't go in, and somehow Mimic survives.
The advantage here for Alphari is, though, that Mimic is going to be forced back. He's going to lose at least 2 waves of farm, and if he sticks around, they could very well look for a dive from Misfits. But with Taiki sticking around, they've decided not to go for it. But still, the fact that Alphari was able to get out of that one is great, as now Hans...
gonna have a trade up here, and Gap's gonna find him right inside of a trap. He has no real way to go. Gonna return with Whirling Death, but doesn't find a kill. Will be taken out himself. Dazzle comes up, will lock down Heaver, looking for the Bravado to come down for extra damage. Handsammer with the chase down, with the last Piltover Peacemaker, not gonna be enough. Knocks Ignar into the tower. Should find the 1-for-1 here. What a play by Heaver.
Very unfortunate from Ignar, but great response from Heaver. He baited out his ultimates for the longest amount of time that resulted in Ignar overextending just ever so slightly. Didn't decide to use the ultimate, which very likely could have kept him alive, but it ends up being a 1-for-2 in the bottom lane. This is absolutely fantastic for the Caitlyn, because not only are you putting the Draven behind, but you're now going to make up for all that gold that you lost earlier on when Draven was able to get all those stacks. And this is the thing you have to respect about the Taric. If you're going to go in for an engage with the Alistar, the short range of Draven makes it very easy for Taric to actually just walk up to the Draven and land the stun. Then you have that great synergy between the stun and the traps to allow Caitlyn to get multiple headshot procs off, and then you can just straight up win the fight because you have that much more base damage. So great execution coming out from the bottom lane of Misfits, demonstrating why they have such a great reputation for being a mechanically skilled bottom lane.
Ignar, he's found Jizuke, but he's going to drop down into Sanguine Pool and back away. Meanwhile, Wisdom also joins the gang squad, and we'll clear out this war. 2 minutes until the next dragon. And Taiki is going to clear out his jungle, but just around the corner is Wisdom. I didn't see who picked that up.
Well, at the moment,
I think it was Wisdom.
Right now, both teams posturing around this blue buff. It looks like Misfits are going to be able to take that one away, which is a great small objective picked up for them. While this Caitlyn is just continuing to farm up in the bottom lane, so Gap, even though he is able to get that first kill, he is really struggling up against this Caitlyn. And Jizuke, he's also struggling up against Selfie. The fact that Selfie got 2 assists working towards that Abyssal is actually making Jizuke's life very difficult, and it's nice to see this sort of aggressive Victor play coming out from Selfie, because typically what we've seen in the LCS is just the Vladimir pushing these Victors around and Jizuke's getting caught.
Or Sanguine Pool once again. Ignar's going to keep up the chase flash over the wall. Cask does not quite land, and there's the Hemoplague as well. Going to be a bit of healing to Jizuke.
A bit of healing?
400. Just a bit of healing, just a dash of healing, a pinch of healing.
Yeah, that ultimate, ever since it got changed on patch 6.10, or no, it was a change on 6.9 with the healing to his ultimate, gives him so much more now.
Yeah.
That it's a little bit ridiculous if you landed onto multiple targets.
Gotta love a Draven with high attack speed, getting all of the stacks in the world.
Have you ever juggled 3 axes before?
I managed to do 4, but that wasn't against a human. That was against Baron.
Oh, actually, I remember now. Hansummer, a game that I cast him in a long time ago. Hang on a second, Alfari.
Going for the 1v1 again, and Mimic, he still knows he can win the fight, but not anymore as Wisdom arrives. Pillar comes up, and Mimic is going to be chased down. Wisdom may want to hold on for a second to get the stacks. Oh, he's going to go into ultimate, and still didn't manage to get the stack. That was like a fraction of a second away.
Mimic, if he just bought a little bit more time, he might have been able to get at least a 1-for-1. But great play from Wisdom and Alfari, managing the turret aggro well enough to enable them to get themselves the kill, as well as the turret up in the top lane. So even after all this pressure that has come down onto Alfari, Wisdom has been responding effectively at coming to his aid.
I think Wisdom's been having a great game. 4G, by the way, are going to take the next dragon, so that's 2 Ocean Dragons going over to them. Great in the early game. And a little bit later as well, but that will, the next one's going to be Ocean. I swear, like every single game I cast, we have at least 3 of an element. If not in a row, then at some point in the game. But yeah, Wisdom's had a good game. We've been praising Selfie, Alfari, and Hanshammer, I think, the most on that lineup. Haven't seen enough from Ignar
to be fair,
to really make a valid opinion.
We did open the segment with, we think this is the best team on paper.
Individually, yeah.
Because these guys really are individually very, very talented.
For sure, but I think we didn't touch on Wisdom as much because I think he's been very inconsistent. We've seen games where he goes off, where he goes like full one-on-one, but we've also seen games like the Nidalee game he had, where he died 6 times in a row and
pretty much
caught.
Was the reason why Misfits lost that game.
So yeah, Wisdom seems to be on the up and up. When he has good games, they are really good. This appears to be one of them. Gap has swapped lanes and will continue farming. Mid lane, Jizuke charging up Tides of Blood, actually out of range of Selfie. Crimson Rush will continue to help him chase him down, but without any means of slowing him down, without Rylai's, gonna back away.
So, something that we have actually been seeing a lot more of is the rise of Ghost. Now, Ghost on 610 did actually have some changes so that it now scales with level. The higher the level you are, the more movement speed that you get. And I do believe the cap is 41%, which is a pretty significant difference compared to what it was originally, which is why you're seeing a lot more in mids, because having that extra defense is very useful as Wisdom, taking a lot of damage.
Mimic's going to come in here. Wisdom will be looking for a very fast ultimate. Doesn't get it down in time. Meanwhile, the rest of his team will try and secure the tower. Interesting trap placement by Hanshammer forces them into kind of a bottleneck, but they'll just walk around it. And we'll continue the push, actually. Selfie, Alfari are coming in here to reinforce this one, but they are able to clear out the minions. Jizuke is also waiting in the wings, ready for this to happen, but Misfits are going to back away on a ward, so maybe Taggy can interrupt.
The Turret Kindred combo as a pairing can be very difficult as Ignar gets caught.
He is pretty much by himself. Selfie's going to come out there, pop the disco ball, and try and put some damage back on to Mimic. And we'll force them away. Keeps Ignar alive. I what he was done for, but he was good.
Fortunately, Selfie was nearby to keep Ignar alive. It does force the flash out of him, and very likely a lot of turret damage will go down on this top lane turret. But yeah, Ignar being able to escape from that one is a good thing for Misfits, but at the end of the day, he shouldn't have been backing in that tri-brush in the first place.
Yeah.
So, while good, also a bit of a misplay. But yeah,
while good, bad.
What you saw in the bottom lane dive was the combo of Taric and Kalista trying to come into effect. Ooh, flash on Wisdom.
Gap's going to try and return damage onto Wisdom. Wisdom try and get a kill before he goes down himself. Gonna force the ultimate and buy time for Taiki to come into this. Wisdom will be dropping. A Gap is still alive. Alphari is gonna chase him down. E comes out. Face Dive will finish him off. And Mimic will now chase down Alphari with Hiva coming out. He's gonna find himself right in the crosshairs of Taiki. But a great stun coming in from Ignal will stop the aggression for now. Hiva comes in with a flash the combo. Alphari should finally be dropping before they all get caught in parallel convergence. Meanwhile, Jizuke wants to find Handsama, but it's one-on-one. Handsama finds the outdeal, and the point-blank sniper shot takes him out.
So trade happening all over the map. This is the playstyle that Misfits have a tendency of picking into, which is skirmishes all over the map. Right now, 4G are actually the ones to come out ahead because they're quicker to collapse. They're sending more members down into closed off areas that's enabling them to get these slight kill leads, but then they're just throwing it away on the other side because one member's ending up getting caught out. Jizuki right there thought that he had caught out Handsama, didn't realize Selfie was over the wall helping out with a little bit of damage, and then when you get hit by that headshot proc, then there's very little that you can do. So slight misplays coming out from Jizuki to try and commit to that, but let's have a look at this replay. As you can see the damage coming out from Gap onto Wisdom. Forced to use that ultimate very early on. Immediate teleport, followed by the flank from Team Forge, results now in a 3 versus 1 in Team Forge's favor. And this is the sort of response that we're used to seeing from Team Forge, where Hiva is now there. You've now got all 4 members having rotated to the top. And now this is the 1 versus 1 where Hans is actually playing this very nicely, constantly keeping Jizuki at range. Jizuke tries to take advantage of the fact that Caitlyn is just standing there, and actually that was a really nice play from Jizuke. I think he was expecting to have a little bit more burst. He used the ultimate, then goes to the flash Tides of Bloods, didn't quite get it, and now he's basically realized he's overcommitted. He does get both summoners out of hands, but unfortunately it's just not enough. And the fact that he's working towards a Broto belt suggests that Jizuke is itemizing towards being able to stick to Hans. He wants that extra bit of mobility to say, okay, this time you got away from me, that's not going to happen.
Next time, extra bit of damage, extra bit of mobility will maybe even the tables and allow him to pick up the kill. But 1 minute to go until the third Ocean Dragon, which 4G would like very much. That would be a lot of regeneration for them. Misfits are currently controlling the area, though, with Handsama and Wisdom coming up here. Should be able to clear out all the wards and place down their own. Ignar's actually very deep in that jungle, and without Jizuke kind of on the board, he can't really assist with repelling all of the vision control coming out from Misfits. So very much controlling that area. 3,000 gold advantage to the team. Ignar's going to come mid lane, try and find a small dazzle, see if we can get a kill, but not really going to happen onto 2 tanky targets like Jizuke and Taiki right now. Wisdom's going to go pretty deep onto Taiki. There's the Chaos Storm out from Selfie, but doesn't really get a lot done, so that's a big ultimate down. Meanwhile, Alphari was just pushing bot lane by himself and just continuing to push, and no one is actually responding to him yet, so
this is another way to use Caitlyn. The mid-game spike is actually great for Caitlyn with the use of these traps for setting up sieges underneath the turret. You have good poke coming out from the Victor, as well as the double AD carriers. Ooh, Hiva.
Yeah, he engages onto Ignar, but it is the support, and he's going to have to pop his own ultimate to try and survive it. Meanwhile, Wisdom is trading off against Mimic, and wow, Hiva just pop right there. Still only having the tier 1 ultimate, only 50% damage reduction now, and he is really feeling the burn.
He certainly is. Misfits, nice pick down onto Hiva, who tried to force that fight, but Team Forge just did not follow up onto Misfits' engagement, and now Misfits should be able to secure themselves this turret.
Parallel convergence zones away, Gap and Mimic, while Jizuke has to Sanguine Pool, and Misfits find a pretty well sieged out tower in the mid lane. The power of Caitlyn once again, as you mentioned. Mid-game power spike, which is a funny thing to talk about when you talk about Caitlyn, because it used to be early game and late game, and you kind of just this kind of parabolic power curve thing. But now, it's kind of good.
Yeah,
all the time.
All thanks to these traps that people now decide to max as. Ooh,
no steal for you. Taiki does not find the dragon there and will eventually be taken out by Wisdom in the 1 versus 1. Gap also dropped it very early on into this fight. Hiva right into the trap line. Didn't have the ultimate to survive. That'll be a 3 for 0 coming out for Misfits. Jizuke should be good to go. He's going to back off the tower, but a big loss out there for Team Forge. Really wanted that dragon to go down, and that may even be converted into a Baron 24 minutes in.
It could very well be. Misfits, they have the numbers advantage. Mimic does have the teleport available, and a ward has gone into the pit, but I think that it would be a very risky decision for Team Forge to commit to this Baron.
I think you should just pull the trigger here, honestly. The trigger. Up. And it's going to go down to Misfits. Yeah. If people were lower, maybe Jizuke would have jumped in and try and go for the hero play with Tides of Blood, but it's so difficult to do that nowadays. As Vladimir, you can't just pop Tides of Blood in a second, you have to charge it up. And it's very easy just to focus him out if he's by himself.
So, that play actually worked out very nicely in Misfits' favor. They set up the dive down, well, they set up the siege in the mid lane. He tried to go for an engagement onto Misfits, and because the rest of 4G couldn't follow up because of all the traps that were sitting in front of them, it ended up basically leaving Hiva stranded out for Misfits to be able to pick up that kill. They then rotate round to pick up that Ocean Drake, and Team Forge decide to continue aggressing. Really nice defensive ultimate coming out from Ignar so that you could actually have Selfie playing more aggressively on the front line and actually getting Gap's face. And even if Gap wanted to try and put return damage down, he couldn't because Selfie was just invulnerable. So really nice use of the Taric. 2-1 and 8 right now. Ignar has honestly had a very impressive performance.
Very sad in this game. Hansama up. Going to be talking about bot lane. First though, as Alfari is kind of caught by his lonesome, but he is a very fast echo. Z drive resonance plus phase dive means I think he's good. Oh, he's running to the wrong side of the map. He's not going to get away. He's going to follow with the flash and the combo. Back with the chrono break, but doesn't get the shielding out. Actually, a lot of damage onto Gap, but is still being followed by Mimic, and again, the passive will keep him alive. The rest of Misfits are coming in here, but I'm not really sure that they really needed to try and save Alfari, and Wisdom's going to jump in and die. Meanwhile, Taiki and Jizuke will come out here and try and capitalize on this mistake, this misstep. Selfie will get the kill there with Alfari. Both of them drop for the price of one. Hansama in the top lane is pushing by himself though, so maybe it was all worth in the end. And Alfari won't be able to stop the recalls, but he's going to try. But yeah, Hansama with this takedown onto the inhibitor made it all worthwhile. Oh wow, Hansama now in a 2 versus 1. He's taken quite a lot of damage. Yep. He's getting punched to death. Whoa, over the wall. Oh, that was actually sick. He's also going to go down the 1v2 outplay. No way. He actually gets the 2 versus 1 onto 2 of the tankiest members of Team Forge. We hyped this guy up, but I was not expecting that outplay from him, and now, thanks to that play, the rest of Misfits can look to take the second inhibitor in the bottom lane. The Peacemaker there, Taiki's gonna knock him away! The fadeaway headshot onto Taiki! Hansama is absolutely turning up right now. All that kind of happened in the last like 2 seconds of their fight. We came over the wall, the Peacemaker into Flash. I think it was, yeah, Peacemaker Flash combo. And wow, Hansama really coming up big right now. But Jizuke, he wants some revenge, and he's gonna get it at the price of him also dying. Gap and Hiva come back into this fight, but Team Forge are just all over the place, coming in drips and drabs, and Misfits are very happy to pick up these kills. Wisdom's gonna be knocked away to safety, hop over the wall, and Ignar and Alfari will eventually grind down Mimic. And this tower in the mid lane should also be falling shortly. 28 minutes into this game, and Misfits are just all over the base of 4G right now. Not even sure if they can survive the next push, as only Taiki is alive. 15 seconds on Jizuke, and even more on Gap. So, Alfari and Selfie step aside, because there is a new carry on the lineup of Misfits, as Hansama was really the guy that ended up closing out the game for them. Yes, Misfits were playing incredibly well throughout this game, but Hansama going to be taking game 1 of this best of 2. Yep. Misfits also won that game against Team Forge, but yeah, no, Hansama. It was all Hansama. Hans plus friends. Really, it was turning up at the very end for a highlight clip, a highlight reel clip. That was a great play. That was very cool, getting those 3 kills in quick succession on low health. Also, when he was fighting Jizuke earlier on into that game, it was kind of like a no-scope, and he just like bopped him in the head for the final kill. But still, a lot of cool plays coming out from Hansama. That's kind of what we expect as like a mechanically gifted player. But I think overall, we can't drown out the fact that that was a pretty messy game. Well, it fits into the playstyle that we are used to seeing from Misfits, which is very much about skirmishes all around the map. The 2v2s, the 3v3s. And Forge
bought into that playstyle. Typically, they would have more numbers there quicker.
Sure.
They were better at setting up the collapse, but because it was so broken up, and because Misfits did such a great job of buying enough time, the rest of Misfits could eventually get into a lot of those exchanges and then turn the fights in their favor. And slowly over time, they accrued just slightly bigger advantages. And I don't want to call it chaos style, because I think both teams were fully aware of the fights they were getting into.
Sure.
It was just that Misfits seem to be more used to this style of game where you have lots of action happening everywhere, and they know how to take advantages off the back of what comes across as messy but is actually quite intelligent play coming out from Misfits. It was simply a matter of 4G playing into Misfits' playstyle that Misfits could then take advantage of.
I think the early game was still good from Team Forge because they were finding the plays that they wanted to find. They were grouping with more people rather than going for the skirmishes or finding the ganks that worked out well for them. But yeah, as soon as Forge get pulled into skirmish fights when they're not really running a skirmish composition is when they find those problems. And even in the 1v1s, didn't come out ahead. So if they don't get drawn into like the madness that is like the skirmishing coming out from Misfits, then they will have a much better time. But Forge still had a strong opening, and Heaver did Heaver things, like he was constantly engaging. I thought the bottom lane
lost a 2v2.
Still went fine. They did, but they also got the gank off where Gap got the cash in, and it was just like, this could be really good, but he wasn't like far enough up on Handsammer to make it work. Like near the end of the game, he was still like an item and a half down on Caitlyn. So yeah, it didn't really get rolling despite getting League of Draven.
The Draven, I think, was ambitious, to say the least.
It's always ambitious as a pick. I mean, like, you can always make that statement.
There are safer picks, things like the Ezreal would have been a safer pickup. You could have gone for the Sivir here as well, which we've seen Team Forge run with great success in the past.
That's true.
So the fact that they decided to pick a Draven into the Caitlyn, well, it wasn't into the Caitlyn itself, but because the Caitlyn was on the last rotation. But picking a Draven when a Caitlyn is available is always a risky thing to do. So I was really impressed with the great execution of the Taric. It's a shame we didn't get to properly see the Taric Kindred combo of we never die. But still, I mean, the skirmish playstyle of Misfits seems to working out perfectly for that.
And that's kind of their trademark. That's the hallmark of like the Misfits play, and I think it really suits the team as well with the addition of Handsammer. And that is one of the things we were like asking coming into this game. Is like, is Handsammer really going to fit into the squad just like fine? Because one of the big things in Millennium, they're all playing together really well as a unit. But I thought Handsammer did really well, and if nothing else, like he fits the playstyle of just being a mechanically strong player who can make these plays in skirmishes and come on ahead. But either way, thanks for sticking with us through all of the delays. We're going to take a quick break while the teams refresh for round 2. So stay tuned with us. Battered from the previous patch, and he's still trying to chase down Mimic. He does have that ultimate and is able to get it with the last auto attack plus the ultimate. He was completely safe.
Wow, Handsammer now in a 2 versus 1. He's taken quite a lot of damage.
Yeah. He's getting punched to death. Whoa, over the wall. That was actually sick. He's also going to go down the 1v2 outplay. No.